which means 8 of these is equal to 1 inch. That's important to remember, and you'll see why in a second. Now I'm going to take this. That's my top view. I'm just going to finish this engine block up in the back. You can see from the top view I'm doing the same thing that I did with the bottom, as far as the distance from the top down to that opening, from the bottom to that opening. I'm going to use that, step over here, and do the same thing there. And again, I'm going to make it just a little bit bigger, and we'll go from there. You can either use the block, or you can use a straight edge. Either way, as long as you make a straight line. And what I'm going to go ahead and do is enclose this. Just like that. Now I have a nice recreation of this wooden block. At this point, what I'm going to do is recreate it up here as well. Take my straight edge, make a light mark there, and then what I normally do is I'll take from this end, remember we're worried about the top view, we're looking at it from the top, I'll get the measurement like this from each side. And it's pretty symmetrical. It's usually the same from one side to the other. So I'll get that mark. I'm going to go from the top here. Again, make a note of my distance. And then I'm going to go from the other side like this. Switch hands here. And make my mark like that. Again, use my straight edge. Again, use my straight edge, and I'm going to come in here and I'm going to trace those lines right out there. So now I have an idea of where, and actually not more than an idea, I have an exact idea of where everything's going to place here. Now what we're going to do is we are going to zoom in. And I'm going to show you, cut, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how we can recreate as pretty accurately as possible our rough drawing. If you take a look at your rough scale sheet, you'll notice that you have a certain distance, like let's say from the back to the front here. I'm sorry, from the back to the rear axle point. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 blocks from the actual back of the piece, or the back of the workpiece that you're going to make your car out of, to the axle hole itself. So that's 6. Remembering that this was a 1/4 inch and that this new scale is an 1/8 inch. So what you'd end up doing is doubling it. So if that was 6, this would be 12. So what I'm going to do is just double that count. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So that's my mark right there. Now I was, if you can remember from this rough scale drawing, I was 1/4 of an inch or 1 block up from the bottom. Well, of course everything's double now, so instead of 1 block up, I'm 2 blocks up. So I'd count up 1, 2, and I'd make my mark like that. So that is going to be the actual point at where I will drill my axle hole. Now, at this point, I'm going to go ahead and repeat for the other front axle. And the front axle, if I count them up, if I count the front axle part, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So instead of 8, I'm going to count 16 from the front. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16. And then again, I'm going to go 2 up from the bottom instead of just 1. So now I have both front and rear axle locations. And when I zoom out here, you will see the view of both. Now, my top view is going to be created exactly the same as the rough scale drawing. You're just going to do it obviously on a bigger scale. And then what you want to do, and this is the part that takes quite a bit of time, you want to take your rough scale drawing here that you should have received back, and you want to actually recreate this if you're happy with it. Again, if you're not happy, you want to make some changes, just make sure they're legal changes, double check with your instructor, and then go ahead and make your changes. So, for instance, what I do is I make points that I can connect the dots because I want to recreate this curve. Just to give you a quick example to point you in the right direction. I was, let's see, 2, 4, 6, 8 blocks in from the front, so that meant 16 here. And then from the bottom, at the axle point here, I was up 1, 2, 3, 4, and just a little more than 4, almost 4.5. So what I would do is say, well, instead of 4.5, I was double that, which is 8, plus 2/2, which is 9. So I'm talking about blocks here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I'm actually almost right about there. So I'm not taking much off at all. And then you would continue to count, and I'll put another reference point here. So for instance, maybe at 2 blocks in, I was 2 blocks up. So that would mean 4 blocks here and 4 blocks here. So right there. So right away, I can go ahead and start making a nice smooth curve on my car. And you would continue that all the way to the back of the car, and then again on the top view. Now what's important to remember, in the interest of time I'm not going to go through the entire demo here, but what's important to remember is the fact that you really need to take your time and measure with a full scale ruler. And again, on your drafting ruler, that's the one with the 16 here. You measure with your full scale ruler, have someone else measure, and then have your instructor double check it for you. That way everything is going to be great when you actually cut out your template. Once you're done with that, you're ready to go to work in the workshop, providing you've met all the requirements for that. Good luck with the manufacturing of your car.